A child is speaking to his mother. Mom, imagine you are surrounded by 10 hungry tigers. What would you do? And she tries to think of clever escapes, but finally says, I don't know. And the child says, stop imagining. Imagination can be a gateway to wonder, but using our imaginations to envision frightening scenarios is an obstacle to creative imagination and wonder. Use prudence to navigate difficulties. Don't walk on thin ice. Use creative imagination to open yourself to wonder. A news reporter asked Albert Einstein, what is the most important question facing humanity today? Einstein replied, I think the most important question is this. Is the universe a friendly place? This is the first and most basic question all people must answer for themselves. Einstein continued with a long quote. If we decide that the universe is an unfriendly place, then we will use our technology and our natural resources to achieve safety by creating bigger walls and just to keep out the unfriendliness, and we'll make bigger weapons to destroy all that which is unfriendly. If we decide that the universe is neither friendly nor unfriendly, and that God is essentially playing dice with the universe, then we are simply victims to the random toss of the dice. I'm going to interject that Einstein's God was not the traditional God the Father, but was Spinoza's God, or perhaps we could say creation, capital C, creation alive in nature, impersonal, subtle, wonderful. Einstein continues. But if we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology and our natural resources to create tools and models for understanding that universe, because safety will come through understanding its workings and its motives. I would add that if we see the universe as essentially friendly, we are more likely to see the good in others, more likely to attend to positive outcomes, and more likely to experience wonder. If we see the world as essentially harsh and more or less irredeemable, we may toughen up for inevitable adversity and brace ourselves for ongoing competition. We are less likely to seek out the good and wonder. If your overall answer is yes, the universe is a friendly place, perhaps it's because you have a spiritual practice or healthy and life affirming beliefs and habits, such as gardening and communing with nature. Perhaps you have, perhaps your commitment to healthy habits serves to reinforce a more positive view. Or perhaps you have experienced grace, a moment that slowed or stilled your world with awe. Awe can be palpable, and sometimes the circumstance of awe stops us in our tracks. The small self dissolves for a moment into something larger, the vastness of being. Normal thinking gives way to exclamation, wow, the flow of life itself. I'm going to bring Charles Darwin into this for a few moments. He wrote, there could have been no flower until there was an eye to see them, namely insects. But we also find flowers beautiful, and flowers don't need us to mate with them. Now, Darwin studied and wrote at length about sexual selection. He comes to the conclusion that there obviously is sexual selection for beauty in many species, for example, birds. Then he goes on to say that this explains the what that is happening, the competition among males to have more beautiful plumage to win the female. But it doesn't explain why female birds are attracted to beauty. One very compelling answer is that beauty is literally universal, from spirals and galaxies to snowflakes to minute structures that we wouldn't see without an electron microscope. I believe that the human mind is capable of committing itself to the pursuit of wonder because it has evolved to do so. This might explain the emergence of Paleolithic art that began at least 40,000 years ago. According to Joseph Campbell, who borrows on James Joyce and St. Thomas Aquinas, human art can also invoke awe and wonder. He states that proper art has the quality of aesthetic arrest, which we could also call awe. Aesthetic arrest can provide a moment of epiphany when radiance shines through. Proper art opens us up to radiance that is shining through the art. Improper art will block the radiance, perhaps with propaganda or a sexual image, or even a plate of delicious food that is meant to manipulate or possess the viewer. Campbell states that pure objects and proper art turn us into pure subjects who experience both belonging and beholding. It seems to me that his description of proper art is an echo of the wonder filled potential that we can experience through the natural world. There are, of course, obstacles to wonder. The most basic obstacle is fear, a real or perceived threat that draws us into survival mode. The initial action of our nervous system is described in terms of the 4 F's of behavior: fighting, fleeing, freezing, and reproduction. The following joke may provide further illustration. A new monk comes to a monastery, and his job was to be scribe, to copy the church laws and canons by hand. The new monk realized that they were copying from copies, that they weren't copying from original manuscripts. So he went to the head abbot and said, "You know, if someone made even a small error, and then that error would be continued through time." The abbot thought he had a really good point. So he agreed to go down into the vault to go through the original documents. The abbot is gone for many, many hours. And the new monk gets worried and goes down to check to see if everything is all right. He finds the abbot gently thumping his forehead with his hand and crying. The monk says, Abbot, what's wrong?" And the abbot struggles to get a hold of himself so that he can speak, then says, "The word is celebrate." Losing our ability to celebrate can make us vulnerable. We can feel worn down by bad news. In the course of human events, harsh things happen. Sometimes that news is laced with manipulative and unreliable messaging, dark and sticky. We need to know that our sources of information are authentic and non agitating, presented in a straightforward way that is not meant to be inflammatory or a hook to make money. Another obstacle to wonder is suffering, and an antidote is renewal. Can we take care of our grief, anxiety, and fright so that they don't consume us? Can we take care of our need for playful and creative expression? Can we take time to pay attention to the good things that happen every day and to the helpers and heartfelt acts of service? It may help to know that research has shown that awe and wonder can make you happier, healthier, more humble, and more connected to the people around you. For example, feeling awe and wonder is shown to reduce inflammatory proteins that are linked to a variety of health issues. The number of marriage proposals spiked in the days surrounding the 2017 solar eclipse. Surveys completed by people around the world show that people report better relationships and social connections after sharing or witnessing a people linked experience of awe, such as the birth of a baby or witnessing powerful acts of kindness or generosity. The philosopher Plato describes ultimate reality as a trinity comprised of the good, truth, and beauty, all three capitalized. The good is part of ultimate reality that is perfect, eternal, and changeless, rather impersonal, like the Chinese Tao, but also influencing truth with a flavor of goodness. Truth is creative order, that which gives structure to the worlds of form. There is a quality of divine reason in truth that can be discovered in the world of form. And then there is beauty, which is a quality of the numinous, the breath of spirit that attracts consciousness to truth and goodness. In Hinduism, there's a similar description of ultimate reality, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is pure awareness beyond form. Chit is consciousness that can be found in form, and Ananda is the bliss that attracts us into celebration of consciousness. Some scholars now believe that the Christian Holy Trinity was inspired by Plato. The point here is that beauty as numinous attraction is found all over the world as an essential aspect of reality and ultimate reality. Beauty attracts us to creativity and creative order and may have the flavor of a friendly universe. Beauty may be spiritual, or if you prefer, beauty can be seen as an expression of the creative order that instructs the world of form alongside quantum mechanics. We can experience awe or wonder every day as an antidote to negativity or as an elixir to living more fully. The philosopher mystic Gurdjieff states that we need beauty as much as food, that we yearn for the sustenance of beauty as a way of feeding the heart, keeping the heart alive. When we come into awe and wonder, we feel lifted beyond the mundane agreements and expressions of a stagnant life and embrace, if even for a moment, what it means to be more fully human with aliveness of being. One exercise is to make it a practice to witness at least one beautiful thing daily. It may mean looking at the world anew, seeing a new detail, allowing rebirth in whatever you encounter. Another way is through belonging and connection. The tree that I hold in attention is connected to our Mother Earth just as I am. That's wondrous. Paying attention to the helpers or to someone who stands up to injustice with the power of love can invoke awe. Taking time for genuine gratitude can encourage wonder. I can even come into wonder and appreciation for the cup that holds my morning tea. Jacqueline Susskind, whose focus is finding the poetry of life, states that Every day is a poem. She writes spontaneous poetry for people by weaving what she perceives, perhaps an image, as an expression of wonder. For example, this line: deep secrets may reside in the lines on our palms, better seen when dirty from work. It is a good idea to sit with beauty, walk with beauty, pause with beauty. In our fast paced culture, we are not taught to sit with the afterglow of wonder and awe. We tend to keep moving our lives at speed, fitting more experience into less time. It's that kind of pace that compels us to abandon the aroma of beauty and allow our wow moments to leak or fade away too soon. It's worthwhile to pause and give space to wonder. The biologist John Lilly labeled the act of allowing experience to settle in with us. He called it grokking in fullness. I suggest we could call it marinating, giving time and space to marvelous encounters. I believe we should always find time to savor wonder. I believe we should also give time to discover the miraculous details of a friendly universe. So let's take a few moments to reflect on the experience of awe and wonder in our lives. Let's take a few moments, if you'd like, to pause and reflect on the ways we have experienced awe, wonder, and beauty. Perhaps as a child, witnessing clouds, or perhaps on vacation, viewing a mountain or canyon, or perhaps in the poetic beauty of the recent past. See if you can rekindle what that felt like: the fullness, radiance, grace, or quiet curiosity. At the sound of the bell, we'll pause a moment to reflect. Close your eyes if you like, and I'll talk you through it. See if you can bring to mind, rekindle a moment when you experienced awe or wonder. Allow a sweet, spontaneous memory and let that wondrous memory grow. See if you can immerse yourself in the details, the sense, the flavor of your experience, both what you experienced with the senses, as well as your inner response. If you can, marinate with that for a moment. You can open your eyes if you'd like. Now, ask yourself, is it worth it to nurture your ability to experience wonder, beauty, or awe? If the answer is yes, the inquiry becomes how? Can you see yourself giving space for wonder? Can you slow things down with a background attention primed for amazement? You might allow yourself the freedom to develop eyes for wonder, to encourage your attention for fascination, and to allow for the possibility of being wonderstruck. The poet Wendell Berry writes, "When despair for the world grows in me, and I awake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free." I love that. When I wake in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go into nature and rest with that. Go into beauty. The poetry of your life will find its own expression of wonder. Thank you for your beautiful attention.